Welcome to What's the Deal with Sam? Starring Sam Lilly. Join Sam as he discusses a wide variety of topics.
Fan mail.
Now let's start the show.
Thank you. This is one of those less funny videos because it's something that I'm actually kind of concerned about, but it's nothing like super serious, so click away. You're going to anyway, just click away now. You don't have to just say that I watched the whole thing and then decided I hated it. You can just leave now if you want. I'll understand. But see, what's going on here is there have been the things lately with the Joy-Cons, the Switch Lite, and just a lot of stuff going on around those two things specifically, I feel like, that are concerning. So, to give a little background here, the Switch Lite is the new Nintendo Switch variant that's smaller. It's got a D-pad on it, and the two side things on it are basically it's kind of like having two Joy-Cons, one Joy-Con with a D-pad, just like hardwired into the system. That's basically what it is. And the thing that's interesting with that is that it looks like it's using the same sticks as the standard Joy-Cons. And the problem with that is standard Joy-Cons have this issue of developing drift, which essentially is your controller will just start pulling in a direction when you're not even touching it. And it just keeps doing that. Whether it's constant or every now and then it just flares up and you can kind of fix it, but it's never truly fixed. It's just like you can kind of stop it temporarily, that kind of thing. That's a thing that's been happening since the system came out, which is 2017, March of 2017. I'm recording this in October of 2019. They've had a lot of time to fix the problem since then, and what they've been doing since then mostly has been just offering to take your Joy-Cons for free, send them in, they'll fix them, they'll send them back to you. If you're in the right regions where they do that, if you're still under the warranty and they accept that, they might make some exceptions beyond that, but that's mostly what you're working with. And that's okay for a short-term solution, but again, this is 2.5 years of not making an actual solution. And so, that's why it was super concerning with the whole Switch Lite idea, where it's the Switch Lite comes out, right? And the Switch Lite comes out, and it's got the same joysticks, and it's well, what if those develop drift then? I don't know. Basically the idea, I would imagine, is going to be the same policy of, just you have to ship your whole Switch Lite in to get it fixed, probably for free if you're under warranty and in the right region, and they'll send it back. But unlike with the standard Switch, which you can just use other controllers with, and it still works, doesn't have these things hardwired onto it, because, you can't do, TV play or whatever and whatnot with the Switch Lite anyway, but, you will lose your entire Switch with the Switch Lite when you have to get it fixed. And you can use other controllers with that as well, as far as I know, but that won't fix the drift problem that's attached to it. If you want to use it in handheld mode, you still won't really be able to do that. So, which is really the only mode you can use it in, I guess. So that's a problem. That's a big problem. And I guess there's I think what happened initially, and this is all super speculation for this thing here. So I could be way off. But what I think happened was that initially they probably made the Joy-Cons and didn't really find these problems when they were working on them and testing with them. And then started being a problem after there were so many in production and everything. And they probably didn't fix the problem, mainly because they made so many variants, they made so many of the Joy-Cons already, and they have these different colors and stuff, and they figure that gives people an excuse to be well, my Joy-Con has developed a drift, it's not working, now I can get these other colors I wanted to also get, and I couldn't decide between or whatever, and you just have a lot of Joy-Cons in case that happens. and so they're able to make a lot of money off of Joy-Cons. Another part of this, and also I like to bring up personally, I got a Switch, which they made a newer variant of the original model Switch that just has a few enhancements to it. Mostly is better battery life. Is the biggest thing. It's supposed to have a better processor that I think, as far as I know, only really affects that battery life, so whatever. Those are the most significant things you'd notice. But I got that brand new, not even having that a month, and I've used the Joy-Cons, I think I'd only used it like one time, my Joy-Cons for like an hour. That was the only significant session other than looking through a few menus a few times. It already developed a drift on my left stick, so I had to look for other solutions to that. And that's a problem when it's, a brand new Switch you're still getting, and these Joy-Cons still have this problem. And I'm thinking the reason they haven't done much else about it also at this point is because there is this class action lawsuit in the works against Nintendo for having these Joy-Cons that are defective, potentially. They're potentially, and I don't know if it they could how they're going to find this out or whatever, but it's like potentially these are known to be defective or were done that. I'm guessing they probably weren't done that way on purpose, but maybe so that you would just buy more and that would drive up Joy-Con sales. And the thing is, that's probably keeping them from doing something else with Joy-Cons, because if Nintendo puts out a different kind of Joy-Con or puts out different sticks or whatever in the in the Switch Lite or something, it's going to look like an admission of guilt, like these don't work, we know these don't work, rather than just being like it's a defect you can't really predict or something. I don't know. So that's what my thought process is behind why things are the way they are right now, and why things haven't really changed. I guess I find it also weird because there's I feel like there should be some solutions to this that would work. For example, why not just use the same sticks that are in the Pro Controller, the Switch Pro Controller, which are a nicer feeling anyways. I guess they're bigger. They would be like a little more clunky, I guess, to have those in there. But if they work and don't have the problem of developing drift, why not use those instead? Why not make a Joy-Con Pro kind of controller where you can have it, have a stick that works essentially, and maybe do some other little tweaks to other pieces of it to make it worth getting over the original Joy-Con. And especially implementing something like this on the Switch Lite. And I'm just going to take the time to go off on another little tangent here, because you're already here. If you're already still listening to me ramble, cool, awesome, cool. I like you, person. If you identify as a person, I'm sorry, I shouldn't assume you identify as a person. There's I'm an asshole. With the Switch Lite, I feel like they could have done a few things differently with that anyways, like maybe made some kind of thing that flips over the screen so that it would protect the screen when it's in your pocket, so it's easier. So something you could put in your pocket and be a good handheld, and then maybe have it so it flips all the way around it, and can also maybe double as a kickstand, because the thing doesn't have a kickstand. Have it lock in, maybe have a place to put a stylus in there for using your touchscreen. That would have been cool. So it would have been a really nice solution, just have something to flip like that, and then it goes in your pocket. You can protect your screen when it's in there. It would be a good idea. And they could have made, I think the shoulder buttons maybe should be like the two triggers specifically should maybe be more like PlayStation 2 triggers, where they're just like a button, still like a larger button basically, but they're still casing under it, so you wouldn't accidentally be pushing those as much in your pocket and whatnot when it's in there. And they should have a bigger internal storage, because it's still, I think, the standard 32 gigs, which if you're going to be mostly digital, which you'd probably want to do with a portable system like this, that you're mainly you don't want to drag a bunch of fucking cartridges around with you, a bunch of game cards, then that should have more internal memory. But of course, it's you can just get an SD card, but that drives up the price of the system without it really being reflected in what Nintendo's offering you. It's only $200. Plus a game, plus an SD card, plus whatever. So that's kind of shitty. And they should have made it just have a kickstand anyway for doing stuff, so you can still do it as a smaller tabletop thing anyways when you're out on the go. But I think like the main thing was the sticks, just the sticks. I mean, ergonomically, they could mess around with some of those things too. I think a Joy-Con Pro could do this too, where like there's just more space between the buttons and the stick, so it's not as crowded. But like, I feel like what they could have done with the sticks on the Switch Lite was make them like the 3DS Circle Pad, and so that way, maybe there could even be part of that flip cover. Wouldn't necessarily just cover that, but also cover the whole front of it too. Right? Just flip shut, so it would still have that clamshell design like the 3DS, like the DS, like the Game Boy Advance SP. Like smartly designed handhelds that would fit in your pocket, do something like that. Because right now the sticks are going to be jutting out, so that's another thing you don't want in your pocket, to be messing around, hitting things. It also keeps them from getting a bunch of dirt and whatnot inside of there while it's in your pocket. It would be a really smart idea to use those things like that, and then just have those circle pads so these things aren't jutting out, and they wouldn't have the same drift issue. Right? Are these decent ideas? Am I crazy? I mean, those things aren't mutually exclusive, but are these decent ideas? I'm really curious about that. And, I don't know. That was basically my big tangent rant on this whole thing, is that I think it's weird that this has been a problem for this long, and that it hasn't been fixed, possibly to save their own ass from being sued. But I don't know if they're going to end up getting sued anyway. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I kind of want there to be a better solution to this, rather than having to go to, things like a Pro Controller, or if I want to do it for handheld mode or something, I have to go to third-party solutions to do that, and I shouldn't have to. It should be better than this, and I've had Nintendo 64 controllers have their sticks last longer than the stick on my fucking Joy-Con on my brand new Switch, so that's just really frustrating. And that might just be bad luck, but, it's not just me. It's not an isolated incident. It's not a very rare incident. It's something that a lot of people have had happen. And I did all the things I could locally without buying extra things like extra cleaners and shit and trying to open the Joy-Con up and do shit in there. The most you can usually do to try and fix your Joy-Con drift without any extraneous, sending it somewhere or buying extra products or something to do it, is basically you can go in and update the controller. I did that. It helped for a little bit, and then I started doing it again. And then I recalibrated it, helped for a little bit longer, and then started doing it again. And when I say a little bit longer, it was like 30 minutes for a little bit, and about 45 minutes for a little bit longer. And the problem isn't fixed. It still happens. It's still there. So it's better than no Joy-Con, I mean, like, I'd rather have a shitty drifting Joy-Con or, whatever, than sending in my entire Switch like you'd have to with the Switch Lite. But, it's better than nothing doesn't necessarily mean that it's good. So what's the deal with the Switch Lite and Joy-Cons and Nintendo not fixing their stick? Fix your stick, Nintendo. Fix your stick. What's the deal with saying